What's up, y'all? My name is T. Shaw, and this is Brewin Black Podcast, where the contents we serve you is authentic, vulnerable, and relatable. That means we serve you with no cream and no sugar.
I guess I like my coffee black.
Hi, my name is Scholar P, pronouns he, him, his.
And it's your boy T. Shaw, pronouns he, him, his.
And this is Brewin Black, giving you the latest and greatest in topics for our intellectuals, our millennials, and those who like their topics.
Black.
T, how you feeling today, man?
Man, that's a loaded question.
Absolutely.
This country is crazy. Personally, I feel like I'm doing good. Today has been a really good day. Trying to catch up on some sleep. It's been a real hectic week, but I got to bring a student to UCLA, so I feel like I'm merging like my lives and the chapters of my lives together. So that was cool. Shout out to ASU, the African Student Union at UCLA put on a higher education conference. Got to talk to a bunch of young Black students about the purpose of higher education and why you should go and different ways you can navigate this space and just kind of put them on game. And it was so refreshing. So it was nice to, I guess, give back in a sense. Got to take my student up there who is bright, extremely wise for a 16-year-old. And it's like I wanted him to have that exposure. I think one thing I've been thinking about is that how young Black boys often think of their way out as being able to play sports and excel at that. And it's like, even they asked him like, what is his strengths and weaknesses? And the first few strengths he came up with were sports related. And it's like, okay, but what else can you do? Right. And he talked about how he was a great critical thinker. He is an active listener, how he's a leader. And I'm like, those are the qualities I want you to show, because those are things that show up on the football field. Those are things that show up on any arena that you're in. So yeah, just being able to affirm that. So yeah, work has been great. But it's like, I feel like because I don't work a traditional 9 to 5, it like I burn the candlesticks at both ends sometimes. So it's just trying to find time to get some time off and really be able to like relax. But I got to see my mom and my sister. They were in town for the AKA conference. And speaking of that, I've been just running around online and in person trying to find these shoes for my mom because Mother's Day is coming up and I'm trying to go back home for Mother's Day. Shh, don't tell her. But yeah, like I've been having the toughest time, and I'm like, this is exactly why I don't order things online. I've made maybe 5 purchases, and it's been like kicked back multiple times, like either because they didn't have the shoes in stock, or they say like my card information is wrong, and I'm like, I literally have my bank account information pulled up next to or like the address or whatever it may be. Like, so I'm just trying to struggle through that, but it's gonna be good seeing the smile on her face. It's gonna make it all worth it.
Absolutely.
How you been?
I'm good. Well, yeah, a few shout outs. First of all, shout out to all the mothers by the time this episode airs. This is our last one before Mother's Day. We couldn't do it without y'all.
Absolutely.
Shout out to the guardians who, act like mothers or have that caring, nurturing effect that, good parents have or good guardians have.
Absolutely.
I feel you because my mom keeps changing the gifts. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, well, Mom, what you want? I got everything ready. But very excited about that. May is here, man. Shout out to my friends whose birthday it was, Chelsea Williams, my Lauren brother, Jason Michael Marr.
Okay.
They celebrated their birthdays. Okay. We went to Arizona. Okay. That was really, really good. Saw the mountains. That was beautiful. I was like, I must be human because I don't even like hiking like that. But those mountains are gorgeous. I was like, I want to like slide in their DMs. Like honestly, like those mountains were awesome.
I got a little Arizona.
Sedona. Sedona. Got myself a little belt buckle. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Come on. I got, and now I'm also getting like bougier because it's like I have this fruit infuser. Ooh. So it's like you got this little container, this like a stick that's you put in the middle of your pitcher, and the fruit like sort of oozes out. So I put a bunch of lemons in there because I love lemon water.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You should try cucumber.
Ooh.
Cucumber. It has an interesting taste. It's an acquired taste, but I promise you, I've never felt more refreshed.
Come on now.
So give it a try.
Come on now. Yeah. And honestly, man, April was a shit show, man. April was a shit show. Hardest month of the new year, but I survived, man, and I'm back. I feel great. Stuff is coming along, and I feel like I'm taking life easy and letting life come to me. So, I'm ready. I'm ready, man. Let's get into it, brother.
Okay. So before we get into the show, we got to do the land acknowledgments. This is the land of the Gabrielino and the Tongva. This is stolen land. This is colonized land, and we will always, always, always pay those respects.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, also before we, because we do our topics and things of that nature, but we got to talk about Roe v. Wade almost,
Yeah.
being turned over. Well, they're thinking about overturning it. They're thinking about. So there was a leak that said that folks in power are actually thinking about overturning. So the Supreme Court is actually thinking about overturning Roe v. Wade. So T, what are some of your thoughts about that, brother?
Yeah, and we would be remiss not to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Like as black males, men might think that this might have nothing to do with them, but it's like, no, we're a community. Anything
Right.
that affects women affects us, like
Right.
because we are a family unit. But I think it's important just to acknowledge like that the court is literally attacking women's right to make decision over their own body. And Roe v. Wade has stood for 50 years, and we've seen how conservatives have attacked Roe v. Wade and chipped away at it, and now it's like a full frontal assault. So yeah, it's man, it's scary. I think more than anything because it to me, like we see how precedents, I think it's called stare decisis, like whatever the decision the courts made, it usually stands unless it's something extremely egregious. We saw that with like Dred Scott, right? They said that, black people would never be free, right? That had to be overturned by amendment. Or we saw what was the one with segregation, Plessy v. Ferguson, right? And that had to be overturned with Brown versus Board of Education. But those are very like clear examples of giving people rights that they should have always had. And it's like the court made a mistake. But on this end, it's like, no, they're rolling back rights. They're saying like, oh, y'all had these freedoms, you don't really deserve it. And it feels like it's putting other rights that we thought were guaranteed like on the chopping block. I know that they were talking about how gay marriage might be rolled back too, based on the logic of the draft that they were talking. And just like you said, it's a draft, so the language could change, but it seems as if Roe v. Wade will definitely fall. It's 5-4, and it seemed like it was a staunch 5-4. But the language is what matters. How they write the opinions and what they say, the logic of this decision is what really like makes the major impact. And right now, it's looking like they're purely attacking it, and there's going to be a lot of things pulled back. And yeah, gay marriage, and I think contraception as well. So yeah, bro, I think it's scary because I know about 25 states have laws already lined up to like once Roe v. Wade falls. Like I know Texas has the 6-week thing right now, but they have a law on the book like if it falls, like no abortions are legal. And it's like, whoa, that's crazy. And I know about 25 states have some type of laws in place to peel back abortion the minute that falls.
Absolutely. And I saw something on Instagram today, and it said, you're not going to stop abortions. You're just going to stop safe abortions.
Yeah.
People are still going to go out there and get their abortions. Now they're going to get it
Absolutely.
from the back alley person who's actually not safe, who could actually end up harming them severely or killing them, right? And for, just as someone walking out in the world, as couples, and I guess I'm speaking through the heterosexual context, people have had pregnancy scares and stuff like that before. And like, there's so many different reasons why a woman might not want to bring a baby into this world, right? And so for that option to be like even talked about or threatened is so crazy. And I started thinking about it from like a bigger picture last night, and I was thinking like, this actually goes into the hands of like so many other different entities in the U.S., right? Because a lot of folks who are not going to have, who are going to be struggling are folks who are impoverished, who might not be able to, find different, and some people are going to
go out of state.
Exactly. And then, if you sometimes you bring a baby into this world, you can't take care of this baby. You don't have the resources, which can create, circumstances for the child, which can put the child in a bad situation.
Put the family in a situation.
Come on.
Exacerbates poverty.
Yeah.
But just like you're saying, like there's millions of kids already in the foster care system.
Right.
And it's like, if we're pro-life, why are we not pro-education? Why are we not pro or anti-poverty, right?
Right.
Why aren't we trying to pull people out of the situations? If we're so for bringing life into this, why can't we prioritize that life when it's alive and not just unborn?
Yeah, and furthermore, it's like the healthcare system is already not that great. We don't
Yes.
have
We talked about this or 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, like so our healthcare system already, fucks over women when they have babies too.
Yeah.
So it's like there's just so many little gaps in like the logic here,
Mhm.
and it's unfortunate. Plus, let's be honest, if we're actually going to put restrictions on people, we should be putting restrictions on men. Men are actually a lot more dangerous in terms
Big
of
facts.
pregnancies and stuff like that. I could go out and impregnate 100 women in a month.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So like the idea that we're even restricting women's bodies in the
Yeah.
first place at all shows how sexist the society is and how patriarchal
Yeah.
this stuff is. And so it's really interesting because I didn't expect them to be this blatant with it. Like I
Yeah.
felt like we were sort of past this, like the idea that this could be rolled back.
Yeah, this like up front, like, because
Yeah.
it's been so like chipped away, right? It's
Exactly.
all so subtle, but now it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like right at you. It's like, yeah, no, this what we doing, and but I feel like we kind of saw this coming slowly but surely with like Texas's decision with Trump putting these 3 justices. He said, I remember during his political debate with Hillary, and they asked him like, would he be trying to like repeal Roe v. Wade, and he was like, in a lot of different ways. He's like, well, I plan on putting 3 justices in there, and I plan on having the majority, and whatever that majority decides. But I believe that majority would decide to give it to the states. So that's my answer.
Yeah. So just realize, y'all, this is a long game thing, right?
Mhm.
So, and that's why we always talk about on the show how like we get so caught up in I'm not racist, I'm not sexist, I'm not heterosexist. It's not really about that. It's about a lifetime of like undoing that stuff in yourself and being able to recognize it in society, right?
Yeah.
Like this has been a long game plan. I'll put the justices in now, even if I don't win. The justices are in there. Those are lifetime appointments, and they and slowly but surely, because like you said before, if you have like 25 states who are already like we've been waiting. Once we get our people in there, we just waiting. And giving it to the states means that hey, we'll be able to do whatever we want to in our little area. So let's go ahead and put this stuff in place. And that's why when we talk about politics and who you vote for, it's so important, because now the same person who is saying politics don't have nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Well, like if you get pregnant, you're someone in your family or your close friend gets pregnant.
You
and
get somebody pregnant.
Exactly. And now you can't do anything. Okay, well now it's hitting your life, but it's a slow game. Pay attention, guys. Stay woke.
Ooh, okay. I'm so glad you said that, right? Because that's often people's like approach to politics, like, oh, it don't got nothing to do with me, but it don't got nothing to do with you until it got something to do with you.
And then it's too late almost.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what makes this podcast come full circle, because we've talked about these bills, right? We talked about Florida, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Texas, kind of what they've been up to, right? And it's like, yeah, some of this stuff has just been in their like state legislator, but it's like, that's why we have to pay attention, because they just waiting, bro. Just like you said, it's that long game, and that's what really kills us. And it's like, it also sucks because the states that are doing this have the highest infant mortality. So it's like, y'all want to have these kids, but y'all can't even take care of these kids.
Ooh.
Like, that's crazy. Like,
Yikes.
we almost lost Serena in childbirth. So it's like, we can't take care of Serena, who has one of like the top bodies in the world, like who has trained her body to withstand like the craziest conditions.
Who has millions of dollars too to get the best healthcare too.
What?
Like,
what?
Hey,
we got black women dying in childbirth, and y'all trying to make people have kids, even when it comes down to incest and rape. Like, what?
I don't understand it, man. Can't make me understand it.
Yeah, bro. So, I mean, especially like as we're transitioning into our topic, because we're picking up on expectations, timelines, and ultimatums, I think it's important for us to really think about like the decision to have a child. Like, it's probably one of the most important decisions you can make in your life. And no one should have the power to make that decision for you. Not the United States, not your pastor, not your mama. Like,
you're getting deep.
It is fundamentally going to change your life, and it's going to change your expectations of your life and your timeline. So I definitely want to pick up from where we left off. Like last week, we talked about the ultimatums, the expectations, and the timelines, and how that affects us as people and us navigating our own lives. But I think we should think about like, how it affects our relationships with our significant others, people we want to date, but also like our family and friends. So I guess coming off of this conversation, let's think about what like our timelines for making families, right? Do you have a
Ooh,
timeline
child.
to get married or to start a family?
T, man, I was supposed to be finishing having my kids by now.
Oh, really?
Back in the day. Oh, yeah.
Was this your childhood timeline?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Okay.
childhood and teen timeline for
Okay,
sure.
okay.
Like, I was like, I'll get married maybe 25-ish, get all my kids out of the way, because I was like, them jokers about to be out my house by 48. On God,
Oh, that's
because
crazy.
I don't want I want to have a significant amount of time for me and the mother of my children and my hopefully my spouse to just be in the house, do our thing, walk around naked, travel again.
Yeah,
These
yeah.
kids took so much from us, and now we get to enjoy each other for 30, 40, 50 plus years. So that was my goal. And then I went to grad school, and it all changed. And I think also just sort of traveling from state, and you understand this, like traveling from state to state, it made it harder. Grad school makes it harder because resources are different when you're in grad school too, right? So now we just gonna see. And I also I gotta say this as a man. The privilege of it is no one's really asking me too much when I go home.
That's
What's
true.
happening?
That's big,
You know what I'm
big
saying?
facts.
And like I could be 35, 45. DC Youngfly said his dad had him at 61.
Oh,
So at like the great thing about being a man is that you have time. Doesn't mean you should waste people's time, but it means that you have time. Fellas, I'm gonna say
Talk
that again.
about
Doesn't
it.
mean you should waste people's time, but it means you have time. So
That's a bar.
yeah, that's how it's been for me, man. What about you?
Man, I think growing up, my ideal age was like before 30. And it's just because like my mom had me fairly young. I think she had me about 21. And I feel like in a lot of ways we grew up together. And I think that is pressure. So I didn't want it to be that young, but I definitely like had the idea of having children and them playing some sports and specifically like having a son or even a daughter and just
Right.
dunking on their ass and being
Child.
like pushing them to be the best people that they can be, and me also being not particularly in my prime, but having a body that like can keep up.
Exactly.
Like I think about like I used to play basketball with my stepdad. Like, and I really appreciated that. Like those were really fun times. It would be like me and my friends were like 16, 17, 18. We would go to the base and we'd hoop, and he'd come up there with us. And it's like, yeah, he not running the court like we doing. He kind of played a little old man ball, but he wasn't somebody that had to like, he still could run the fast break. And it's like, that was fun. And I really looked forward to that. And it's like growing up, I always wanted like a dad to throw the football with, like really like run some routes with, somebody to put me on the ropes. And yeah, like I wanted to go professional. I wanted to play longer, but also just was fun. And it was such an integral part of my life, and that's what I wanted. So I wanted to be able to provide that to my children. Like if they wanted to play tennis, like yeah, we can hop on the tennis court. We can be like Serena and Venus, right? Like, so I wanted to give them what I didn't have. But shoot, I'm 20, 26 now, so it's like 30 is approaching real quick. So I don't think that I'm too far off that timeline, but it might be, I don't know, between 29 and 33, 34, 35. But I think also I don't see that as old as I once did. I
Right,
think that's a big
exactly.
part. I was like, ooh, 35? You having kids at 35?
Well, and I think it changes too over time because it's like right now you've been in a relationship for what year and some change, right?
Yeah,
Year and some change.
approaching 2.
Yeah. So now, I think it's different when you're thinking about the family timelines where you have someone that like, I ain't gonna put words in your mouth, but I feel like you wouldn't be dating someone publicly and exclusively if you didn't see wifey material in that person, right?
Absolutely.
So I think for me, I also think about like, well, you got to date someone for like year, 2 years. Even
Get
if you
to really know them. See if you
Right.
want to build a relationship or build a life with them.
Exactly. And then it's like you got the engagement, which should be about a year. Then do you want to get married and then have someone pop out a baby right then? Not necessarily. You want some travel time. So now it's like whenever you meet someone, you putting 5 or 6 years on it before
On a
kids are
plan,
even
yeah.
right. So like the older you get, the more you sort of like. I mean, I'm not gonna rush nothing, but at the same time, I don't want to waste too much time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially because women biological clocks, like that's a very important point, right? Like as we're getting older, like it becomes unhealthy to women and the children for them to have babies past, well, I don't know, maybe like 37, 38. Like So I think that is also something to consider. So it's like then that changes, and I think it's being flexible, but also being open to different things. But yeah, just like you said, it's like yeah, like I'm dating somebody I would definitely marry, like
Right.
because we get along well, and it's like, but again, you definitely have to date someone for an extended period of time to know their quirks, to know like how y'all work together, like yeah, because this might be fun, but like, are we compatible as a unit, as a partnership? Can we build
Exactly.
together? So I guess that leads to the next question is like, has your expectations and your needs and wants changed from what you need from a partner as you've gotten older?
Oh man. Um, it's so funny because I think that like every person that I exclusively dated, or almost every person I exclusively dated, like I met them at the right time and I needed them at
Mm,
that moment. So I
mm,
dated a minister when I was super, super in the church
okay,
and like
okay.
when I and like
How was that?
that was great. That was great because she was like my best friend. She was like
Okay,
my best friend. I had that best friend energy.
okay.
And it was she great family, you know what I'm saying? To this day, got a
Mm-hmm.
lot of love for the family. And that was what I needed at that time.
Mm,
When I dated my last ex, that very social justicey, very passionate, very,
mm.
very much student activist, and I was more on that wave, so I needed that.
2016 era, huh?
Yeah,
Like Black Lives Matter.
exactly.
Okay.
And someone who's very strong and would call you out and hold you accountable. That's what I
Mm,
needed at that point. So I think that over time, I've seen the best parts of each of the relationships I've had. And I'm like, oh, these are the things I need in like the wife or the next person I
mm.
actually date.
Date.
So
Okay.
it's been like a combination of all these different traits over the years. And then shout out to all the women that I've dated and we didn't go exclusive. Like I've been taking things from
Mm-hmm.
every person and been like,
Absolutely.
this is where I'm good. This is where my partner should be good. This
Mm-hmm.
is what something healthy can look like and should look like.
Mm.
So yeah, that's sort of how I'm feeling about it
I
right now.
like that. I like that. It's kind of like you said, what it's not really what I need in a wife, but it's like what I need in my life right now.
Yeah.
And then it's like at the point in which you need a wife, like you're at the good place in your life.
Yeah, and I will say there are some base level things, and I'll start off with just personality and traits and stuff like that,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So like I like a partner who's witty, who can make me laugh. Like that's my
Mm,
expectations. Like it needs to feel fun. Like I'm a big
mm,
energy guy.
okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like I want the exclamation marks and the emojis on the
Mm,
text. I want
mm,
the person who's like sending me stuff throughout the day. I want
mm.
the person because like I know I'm entertaining. I know I'm a vibe. I'm where the party is at. You know what I'm saying? I'm where the sunshine and the rainbow and the rain. I'm the hurricane. I'm all the elements. So I
Mhm.
need someone who brings that to me because I know that I can give that. But if I don't receive it, I feel like, well, what's the
Mm,
point? I can do bad
yeah.
all by myself. You know what I'm saying? I can do bad all by I do bad all by myself.
Yeah.
So I think that those are like some specific things that need
Mm,
to and a super hard worker.
I feel
Those are
that.
the
I feel
like I
that.
need to be able to look at you and be like, dang, I'm feeling crazy, but my baby doing
Yeah,
stuff.
she out there getting it.
Yeah, yeah, and finally, intellectual, right? I need to
Mhm.
be able to have deep conversations with you. If I tell you what my dissertation topic and you're like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
nah,
yeah.
Jesus, take the wheel.
I need you to refine it. Ask me
Yeah,
some questions.
yeah, no, I'm getting
Challenge
tired.
it.
Yeah,
Is that really what you want to know? It's like, damn.
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm so sapiosexual. And for those who don't know, sapiosexual means you are very attracted to intellect as well. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? It's not just the body. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? It's not just a laughter. Like, can you think? Can you use your mind, please?
mhm.
So, what about you?
Yeah, I think for a while, like it was a lot of the same things, right? So, I think the partner that I chose at the time is exactly what I needed.
Hmm.
One of my extremely impactful relationships, it was right when I got into social justice too, and it was like somebody that I was learning from. I feel like a partner I've always needed is someone that I'm constantly learning from in different ways, shapes, or forms, intellectually, socially, emotionally. Like
Hmm.
they taught me things or I learned things in the relationship. So yeah, I think that any relationship I've been in, it's given me something to grow and be a better man and be a better person. But yeah, I definitely think like as I've gotten older, I've understood what I really need. Like a lot of my relationships in college were fun. Like I love having a good time. Like it was jokes, we rapping songs together. Like we really like I don't know, just having a good time, really just wilding. But it's like I think that's kind of like it was young of me. I
Right.
think it's like I think that that's what I thought need it, and that would carry the relationship. And how I thought about it, how I think about it now, is like, I think my relationship right now with Alex, I think of it like as a Bunsen burner, right? Or like a pilot light, right? So like in a fireplace, there's always a pilot light, and the flame is always going. It doesn't need to be like extended and hot and burning all the time, because that burns energy. And I feel like a lot of my previous relationships were kind of like wildfires, and it just was like just going everywhere, and it was intense, but it was fun, and like you gotta fight the fire, but like there was highs and lows, and it's like, nah, we don't need all that. This one's like controlled. It is constantly going. The flame is always blue. I always remember this from chemistry. I hated chemistry, but this is something I remember, is like when the flame is blue, that means that shit is hot. Like that is like prime energy. When you see a fire that's red and yellow, like it's burning off a lot of energy, it's giving off a lot of carbon. But like the blue one is just, it has a lot of energy, and it's gonna keep going because it is constantly flowing. I think that's how I think of it now. So yeah, some traits that I feel like I need right now, which my partner provides, is like that intellectual. I think that they've always been intellectual, but this one, in a lot of ways, like continues to push me. And it's like I feel like we're growing together. I think that that's something else. It's like, how do we grow together? Like, because I feel like a lot of times I grew apart from them. It's like I would be in a relationship for about a year, and it's like, I knew the time was up. It was like, yeah. I don't know about this one, boy.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're growing together in a lot of ways. But again, it's like also our relationship started as not just like romantic. It was like as a literal partnership, like really trying to fight the fight together. You know what I mean? So it's like, I knew that as a person, we could work together to accomplish a lot of things. And again, like building a family, building an empire, building together, I think is important. And I feel like a lot of ways I wasn't aligned with the person that I was dating in those ways. Like our lives were crossing like this rather than like building like that.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I feel like
that's why they became an ex.
Yeah.
Come on, don't play with me today, man. It's May.
Symbolism.
It's May, damn it.
So yeah, I feel like she has just a lot of traits that help balance me out, that helps me think about things in a different way that I otherwise wouldn't have had. So yeah, I think that those are things that I really prioritize and that I value now, and that I value for the future, because I see a future in this.
Absolutely. Damn, man. That's crazy. That's crazy, man. Oh, wait, let me see. Where are we at? Let me see. As we're talking about marriage and like partners and things of that nature, right?
Mhm.
So let's say we're at the marriage part, right?
Mhm.
Let me ask you a sort of hot topic question. Like, what if your partner didn't want kids?
Mhm.
Would that be a deal breaker for you?
I think so. I think personally, because I did not grow up with a father in my home for most of my life, that's something that I want to be. That's like, I want to change the world, but I also want to be a good dad. Like,
Right, exactly.
those go like hand in hand with me. Like that is something extremely important. So I think yes, it would have to be, because it's something that I need in my life to fulfill something.
Exactly. Now, you know what? It's funny that you say that, because when I think about all the people in media or in higher education who have like sort of combined and like made their dreams come true, and people I look up to, I'm like, a lot of them don't have the happy spouse and kids life. Like, they might have a good relationship with their kids, but they're single, and they probably in the streets and this, that, and the third. And I'm just like, that's not the life I want.
Yeah.
And I hear so many people like quote unquote at the top, and I'm like, either they're not married and they're just sort of living their lives in the streets, or they're married but they constantly cheat on their partner. And I'm like, I don't want either of those things in my life. And I try to like balance, like, what are the expectations for my relationships in terms of also following my dreams, my relationship with myself. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's something really, really big that comes up, because I definitely want to find that balance. Because if it's like, if I accomplish all my dreams, make billions of dollars or millions of dollars or whatever, but my family hates me, or if I'm like divorced 3 or 4 times, or if my kids don't like me, it's not gonna be worth it to me. I can't do that. I'd rather make less money and have less fame and fortune, and like have a great family and friend circle that love me and care about me. Like but it's like, you can have it all, but like how, you know?
And I think it comes back to that legacy conversation we had, right? It's like, where is that balance? And it's like, the people I look up to are Martin Luther King and Fred Hampton and Malcolm X. And like, yeah, they were good fathers, but for a few years, right? And they
Right.
got off. So it's like, those are the ambitions I have for the world. But like, is that worth losing my life and like losing that part of my family, right? Like not
Right.
being there, not being present for my family. So that's something I've always like thought of, because like those like, again, it's like I've always been ambitious in that way. I really want to see the world change, but I also understand the implications that come with that. And it's like, am I willing to pay that price? And then it doesn't have to be that morbid or that even extreme, right? Like, because I don't know who I'm going to be in 10, 15, 20 years, right? But it's
Exactly.
like, I think that these are things you have to be conscious of as you're building. And it's like, just like you said, it's like, yeah, I think of all of these phenomenal people in the world that have achieved so much and they're known for their craft, but it's like, what did they sacrifice? You do see good examples. You see Will Smith, you see LeBron James, who are really active in their family's life. Kobe Bryant, who literally lost his life in a helicopter crash, but he started using a helicopter because he wanted to be there for his family.
Mhm.
He understood how LA traffic worked, and he was like, okay, cool. Well, helicopter gets me from point A to point B, so I know I'm gonna pick up my kids from school, but I'm gonna also practice 4 times a day, starting at 4 a.m.
Right.
So it's like, it's finding that balance. And I think that that's important because, yeah, a lot of people will sacrifice. You have to sacrifice something. And a lot of people sacrifice their families in that way.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, nah, that's not good.
So is that a deal breaker for you, though?
Um,
Not wanting to have kids?
oh hell yeah, hell
Okay.
yeah. Nah, yeah. I mean, no, I gotta have kids. I come from a huge family. I'm excited to, raise a child that's mine. Like I love my children before they're even here. I love them more than anything right now. Like
Same,
and I
same.
do not have kids. I do not have any on the way, thank God.
I got my boy Deuce, though.
Yeah,
Shout
yeah,
out
yeah,
little
right,
Deucey
right.
Deuce.
Yeah, I don't even have pet kids, so I want that. I'm happily selfish, but they don't even know. Like I think about my own parents and how much, especially shout out to my mom again, how much she loves me and cares for me, and like the idea to have a little you on the planet. And to be a look in their eyes and be like, man, that's me.
Yeah.
That's my biggest responsibility. This person really depends on me. Like it's one of the most beautiful feelings in the world. I want them to be. I want to share this. I want to share my family with the little me. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I just be
absolutely.
looking at home videos. You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, oh, I was an adorable baby. I had a crazy little upbringing, but like it was good. And I had some good people around me. So definitely a deal breaker. We got to have them
Got
kids.
to, huh?
But I want twins. I'm speaking
Oh.
that. I'm manifesting that. Y'all heard it here first. I want twins.
Same, honestly, same.
Come on.
Twins do run in my family. I don't know how close it is, but like if I'm blessed with it, like
And hey, look, and by the math, I'm approaching 30 in a couple of years. I'll be older. Older men tend to have twins. That's a thing.
Ooh.
Jay-Z, you saw Jay-Z. You
That's
saw,
true.
saw where he popped out. So that's a real thing. But yeah, definitely a deal breaker.
okay. So speaking of another deal breaker, we've had this conversation before. I think it was when we were talking about maybe Bill and Melinda, right? I think when we talked about prenups, and
Yes.
I remember we were on different spectrums when it came to prenups. Is it a deal breaker if somebody does not want to sign a prenup for you?
Well, it has to be because I got family property wrapped up in things. It's things that like, nah, baby, you can't touch. You know what I'm saying? Like, and part of it's my decision, but part of it is not even my own decision.
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Some things is like blood is thicker than water in some cases, and that's one of the cases. But you know what? The great thing about me too is that I tend to date women who are sort of like, I want my own anyway. You got your own. I'm gonna build my own, and like what we build together is ours, and then when we don't, it's not. So
Okay.
it's a thing.
Okay.
I had a question too, right?
Yeah.
So you're sort of in a different position because you're in a relationship, but have you ever had a situationship with someone and it was like low expectations? And because we're talking about expectations in relationships, like can it be healthy to have a relationship with someone where there are very low expectations on both ends?
What does that look like?
So it's like, maybe you hit someone up every now and again, if you want to spend time or something like that. But it's very much like you don't really depend on them. They don't depend on you. If y'all contact each other to hang out or whatever, y'all can. But it's like there are no obligations. And it's literally like the epitome of no strings attached. Can something like that ever be healthy?
I think so theoretically. I just never seen it in practice.
Oh, wow.
So maybe not. I think that like I had a situationship in college where it was healthy, but I know that there were feelings involved in different ways. And it was because I was not emotionally available. I let that person know I'm like, I can't give everything you want or you maybe need. But I was very upfront, and I think that like it did go fairly well. And I think it was a lot of confusion because it's like, oh, you're treating me like a human being and like care about me. Like I got her like a little birthday present, not like nothing crazy, but it's like, no, like I'm spending time with you. Like I'm around you. We don't hang out even that often. I wouldn't even say weekly, right? But like when we do, is like I care about you as a person. Like I want to hear about your day. Like I want to make sure that you good. And I think it really ended off healthy too. It was like a very mutual like, well, look, I'm going in a different place in my life. Like, I hope you understand. And it was like, yeah. And I was like, I really wish for you the best. And I think we don't have a relationship anymore. Like, we don't really speak. But I think if we saw each other, it'd be like, oh, what's up? How you doing? Like, is life good for you? So I think that like that is the only example I have of something being healthy. But it was also like for a month and a half, it was like, what is this?
Right.
Like, because situationships, I think, often are like fall into some type of like, at least on the male perspective, kind of disrespectful. It's just like, oh, I'm just trying to masturbate with your body. I'm just trying to get this nut.
You say that phrase again. Say it again.
Trying to masturbate with your body, just trying to get this nut. And
Okay,
a lot of men
alright.
fall into that camp. But it was like, no, like I really care about you as a person. Like we talked about social justice. Like she put me on new ideas, and it was things that I hadn't considered before. And yeah, like so I felt like I was growing as a person. I wanted to value her as that person, but I knew she wasn't going to be the person for me, at least at that time.
Right. Now it's so crazy. I think what makes it hard, especially I'll speak specifically like for black men. Black women are so amazing, and usually, if you're lucky, you'll find yourself in a lot of spots where the ratio is like for every one man there's like 10, 15 black women, and it's like they're so amazing and you can actually learn from all of them. But in your but in the back of your mind, you might be like, oh, like I don't feel the vibe like this, but like you're just such a great person to be around. So I feel like for my issue is I sort of give a boyfriend-esque experience without having the boyfriend-esque feelings. You know what I'm saying? And it goes
That
back,
can be unhealthy.
yeah, no, and it goes back to what you said, right? It's like, fellas, if you're a good person, you know how creepy dudes can be, and how much of a weirdo dudes can be, and how aggressive and dangerous and predatory dudes can be. When you're not that, sometimes that can be taken as, oh, you want me because you're not treating me like a dog. It's like, nah, not necessarily. I mean, I just have the standard for human decency, is just high, just high or just normal for me. And it's such a low bar for it that anything above that bar seems like it's great. But then you also got to communicate that. Hey, look, we're going to do all these different things. I like you. I want to date you when I actually say it with my mouth. You know what I'm saying? Forget all the different actions and all the different dates and trips and stuff like that. And I've been guilty of that. Like, just because you're just a bomb person. So, I'm going to treat you well. We're going to have a lot of fun together. We're going to do everything together. But doesn't mean nothing. Or not that it doesn't mean anything, but that also doesn't mean like I want to date you exclusively right now. And I think sometimes we got to do a better job of like just having that communication sooner and more up front. Let me ask you something though, right?
Okay.
Because I've definitely messed up in those types of situations. What do you do how do you go about forgiving yourself when you don't meet expectations in relationships or cross boundaries that you shouldn't cross? How do you go about forgiving yourself? Because I feel like a lot of times, especially as men, there's our ego gets involved, we get selfish, you know what I'm saying? Or we're just misinformed about certain things, and we can come off say and do things that are actually offensive to the people that we're engaging with. So like, how do you go about forgiving yourself?
That's a great question. That's a really good question. I will say that I've learned to let people know that I'm gonna disappoint them.
Ooh.
That's something I have to do for myself because I know that people will disappoint me, and I know that I can't be everything for everybody all the time, and I know I'm gonna make mistakes. So I think I'm very upfront with that. It's like, look, I love you. I'm here for you, but like I won't always be I won't always show up in the ways that you need me to show up, but just know that I still care. So I think that that's super important for me. But when it comes down to like being able to forgive yourself for not showing up or not meeting those expectations, I think again it's kind of being real with yourself. It's like, how could I have gotten better? Because I think that that's for me, like I'm kind of like a studier. Any problem that I have, I want to study so I understand how to overcome it. And it's like that introspection. I want to understand like what I truly did. So I think first starts with conversation. It's like one, talking to that person to understand like what I did, or if I was already aware, it's like what more could I have done. But I think it's also trying to figure out like, okay, in what ways could I have been a better person? Like where could I have intervened and changed this behavior? Because it was a behavior that may have started a pattern that I wasn't even aware of. So it's like trying to figure out where I can make that interjection and make that find that growth. I think once I identify the place that I can grow, it's not hard for me to start making those steps. It might be hard, it might look ugly, and it's looking that in the face, but it's like the hardest part is becoming aware of it. And once I become aware of it, I feel like I feel guilty. So it's like if I'm not addressing it and I'm not actively thinking about it and trying to change it, then I'll feel guilty. And it's like I think that's the one thing that like makes me a pretty good person, because I think I'm very kind. And once I understand that I've like really like let someone down, I want to understand how I can never do that again, because it doesn't feel good to me.
Right.
What about you?
No, yeah, no, I think that for me, when you don't meet those expectations, I always try to start off with an apologetic nature, right? So like, I try not to be defensive. If someone says, "Hey, Ashton, you hurt me," I'm like, "Okay, cool. Let's walk me through that. I want to understand how, so I don't do it again." But I think also too, sometimes, you know, you meet people, you disappoint people, and even if people know that it's possible for you to disappoint them, sometimes the road to saying, "Hey, look, my bad, this, that, and the third," it doesn't always work out, right? And this is in relationships in general. You can be sorry, you can be apologetic, but people have the right to be like, "No, like that's fine," but like
you had me fucked up.
Right. And I think sometimes what you have to do is take that introspection, right? And then once you take that introspection, you have to remind yourself who you are. My therapist was telling me like the best story is the story you have about yourself. It's the narrative that you have about yourself. And that has to be the strongest thing. So like, I love how you were saying, like, I'm a kind person. That's part of your narrative, right? And when you know your narrative, you can say, "Oh, I shifted from my narrative, but like, this is who I am. So let me get back to that and do the work to get back to this."
That action doesn't define me.
Exactly. Because at my core, I'm a good person, right? And I think sometimes when we disappoint people, it can be like, "Oh my gosh, like, am I a bad person? You know, should I feel horrible about this forever?" And it's like, nah, you gotta know that this was a shift from who you are, right? This is a shit. And guess what? If you aren't the greatest in the area, then it's up to you to change that narrative. You gotta erase and rewrite. You know what I'm saying? You gotta use the whiteout. You gotta do something. And I think that that's something big that I've learned.
Okay, that growth.
Yes, indeed,
like that. I
indeed.
like
The
that.
self-narrative, folks. Write it out.
Yeah.
Like a journal, baby.
So yeah, I think this has been an amazing episode. Do you have any like final things you kind of want to get off? I know that we've had an overall discussion, right? We've talked about like expectations, timelines, and how that leads to ultimatums. We talked about that with ourselves, as well as like how it manifests in our relationships. But are there any final things you have for the audience?
I will say this. You have, and whether it's platonic, family, romantic, you have to know your worth at all times. And you can't, just like we were talking about the self-narrative thing, you have to have a self-narrative that like, I am worthy of people who want me, who love me, who treat me with respect. And if I can't meet their expectations, I don't need to be in their lives. If they can't meet mine, they don't need to be in my lives. And you have to understand what those expectations are.
Absolutely.
People, I would encourage you to write that down. Like really journal it. Like, how do I expect each of these people to
show up?
Come? Yes. And if they can't meet that, that's okay. But know that, because I know for me, April was also crazy for me because I was engaging in a lot of relationships with folks who did not meet my expectations, and I knew that, and I still tried to engage. And like that is when you start shifting from who you are and what's healthy for you. So I will leave the audience with that. What about you?
I think that like, yeah, I really liked what you said about being aware of your expectations. Yeah, just like you said, whether that be platonic, so with your friends, your
Mhm.
family, or your partners. And it's like, for me, I know that I have high expectations for the people in my life, but it's because I know that I'm showing up as well as I can on all days for them. So it's like I have a high expectation, and yeah, like it's just I think people need to know what their expectations are, because I think we really get disappointed and then we get hurt, but we don't know how to express that hurt, but because we don't really know why. So it's like, be very aware of how you want people to show up in your life, because I think that if we can identify that, then we don't ever even have to get to ultimatums, right? I think that like that expectation, it changes a lot of our lives, and as long as we're aware of those things and the things that we need from our partners, the things we need from our family, the things we need from our friends, then our relationships will be healthy, and they don't go down an unhealthy route, not knowing how to express that and taking out frustration in different ways. I think it's important that we're aware of these expectations. So yeah, y'all, like I really love this conversation. I really think that expectations really shape so much of our lives. Like the expectations our parents had of us, or family had of us, and the expectations we have of people around us. And I think that if we can communicate those things, I think that like life would be good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, like you said, this has been a great episode, man. Take us out, brother.
Yeah, so like we like to say, keep the coffee
Black.
black. All right, y'all. Peace, and we'll see y'all soon.